audience. So you started in April of 2020. Essentially, we're now, in the spring of 24. So roughly 4 years, a little bit less. How has it grown? Like, where are you now? However you measure that.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. This past 12 months has been unbelievable. We have always assumed that we would have a lot of interest in this because most people can relate to a negative move experience in their own life at some point. And so we felt like there would be demand there because of that, but we didn't really know how people would take to the idea of making moving fun. That's a big, ambitious goal. It's not for everybody because if you're a franchise owner, that means that you're the leader, you're the boss. You have to bring that to life, and that's our expectation of you. And so you have to believe in that mission in order to become a franchise owner here. You can't just want to own a moving business that makes a bunch of money. It's great if you make a bunch of money, but that we really want that to be a byproduct of making moving fun. And so we didn't know how the market would react to the franchise opportunity, but it's taken off. Honestly, we had so much interest in that first year, which was late 22 when we introduced it to the country, and we had to sort of slow it down. And we didn't slow it down quite enough because we opened probably too many too quickly in early 2023. And then we kind of took a break last year. We took a break for about 6 months and said, no more openings. Let's just focus on us, because forget CX for a moment. Just getting a business open, moving may seem simple. It's maybe not as complicated as building a software company, but any business is difficult to open. And so there's, in our world, a lot of regulations. And so we had to take people through that process, and we couldn't sell and do it. So we just took a break. So let's just focus on our guys. And then summertime last year, we said, all right, let's go back. Well, when we reopened it, the floodgates literally opened because we had more interest than we had ever had before. We had a lot prior to that. And so we currently are open in 9 markets. We're about to be 10 next week. Next week, I don't know the timing of this, but next week will be 10 markets open. And then we have 8 more scheduled to open sometime between now and the summertime of 24. And on top of that, we are having twice a month sales meetings here in Birmingham in our corporate office with loads and loads of franchise candidates showing up every time. We're literally begging for the opportunity because there's so much interest in what we do from coast to coast. And so we are cognizant of that demand and respectful of that, but we also are trying to make sure that when we source the right owners, we want to make sure they believe in our mission of CX, but we also are limited in how we get people open. We don't want to just sell a bunch of franchises and then be forced to provide less than adequate training. Customer experience is not something that most people are familiar with. And so it takes a lot of really basic elementary education early on, but then you've got to pile on that. You've got to put it into action. You've got to learn from some of those things. It's different than most things, because most things you can push a button or click a box and stuff happens. Customer experience, while some of our stuff is very automated, a lot of it is manual. You've got to listen. You've got to observe. You've got to recognize the situation you're in. And that takes people buying into that for it to come to life. And so we don't want to open too fast, but we also know that we're hot right now, and there's a lot of people interested in the opportunities. So we're trying to measure that to make sure we don't get too far ahead of ourselves.
So